My name is Patricia. I am 27 years vintage, and to be sincere, I do not even realize wherein to start this tale. I've deleted this recording 3 times already due to the fact even now, I can't believe I am approximately to admit what I'm going to mention. I am not a few attention-seeking woman. I'm only a girl who's been through too much. And after what befell, I am now not the identical individual anymore. I have had my heart damaged 3 times. Now, not the type of heartbreak wherein you cry for an evening and move on. I am talking approximately the type that makes you query your really worth, in which you stare at your telephone for hours, hoping the person who promised to like you all the time will text you lower back. The closing one broke something in me. He cheated, lied, ghosted me for 2 months, then got here lower back engaged as though I by no means mattered. After that, I informed myself I was executed. No extra men, no greater probabilities. If I ever wish to speak to a person, I might speak to my dad. He has constantly been there. Usually kind, usually regular. My safe region, the hand to sky, whose by no means permit me down. My dad misplaced the affection of his lifestyles. My mother exceeded far away from most cancers 8 months ago, and on account that then, he hasn't been the equal. I watched the strongest guy I realized collapse in the quietest manner. I have become his rock, and he have become mine. We cooked collectively, wiped clean together, sat in silence together. The kind of silence only 2 broken humans can apprehend. Someplace in that silence, something began to shift. I did not observe it at first, but it became in the way I lingered too long whilst he hugged me. The manner I sought his approval, the way I smiled while he referred to as me stunning, even if I hadn't showered or brushed my hair in days. I started to crave him, not just as a father, however as a man. It scared me, but I pushed the one's thoughts away due to the fact that is what you do, right? You bury what you're no longer purported to sense. You preserve smiling, pretending the whole thing's best. However, one night we had been watching a movie my mom cherished, and I started crying. I leaned into him, and he held me tighter than he ever had. After I zoomed up at him, his eyes have been already on me. No longer like I used to be his daughter, however, like I used to be a woman. That changed into the beginning. That's when I knew something had already modified among us, and I did not want to prevent it. Whilst my mother died, the residence changed. I'm now not even talking about the furniture or the decor. I imply the warm temperature, the odor, the laughter, all of it vanished. She died on a quiet Tuesday morning within the health facility. I nonetheless bear in mind exactly how my dad whispered, "It's okay, my love. You may allow move." I watched my mother, my quality pal, take her closing breath in his poems. That picture is burned into me, it still is. After the funeral, human beings came and went. Church ladies delivered food we failed to devour. Own family participants patted our backs with whole words like, "Live strong or she's in a higher vicinity." But whilst the ultimate automobile left and the house went quiet again, it's whilst the actual grief commenced. I moved back in with Dad some days later. I didn't even suppose 2 times approximately it. He seemed so misplaced, like a person who didn't recognize the way to function without her. I cannot leave him like that. Those first weeks have been the toughest. He slightly spoke. Maximum days, he simply sat by way of the window, gazing the road like he changed into looking forward to a person who'd by no means come. He stopped shaving, stopped cooking, stopped turning on the lights until I reminded him. I tried to maintain it collectively. I made breakfast even if neither people felt like consuming. I cleaned the kitchen, taking care of the mail, left the TV on so the silence would not swallow us. But the nights have been the worst. I could hear him crying through the wall. Not loud, not just like the sobs you see in films. No, it turned into different. Quiet, broken, the sort of crying a man does when he's seeking to maintain all of it in but can't anymore. I would lie in my room, clutching my pillow, feeling every tear he refused to shed throughout the day. One night time, I couldn't take it anymore. I were given off the bed and walked barefoot down the hall. I failed to knock. I just opened the door and went in. He became sitting on the threshold of the mattress, shirtless, protecting a photograph of mother in his palms. His again changed into slumped, his eyes crimson, and for the first time due to the fact her dying, he appeared vintage, tired human. I failed to say a word. I simply walked over and wrapped my hands round him from in the back of. He iced up for a moment, then broke. He turned and pulled me into his lap like he did when I used to be little. I hadn't sat like that in years, but it felt natural acquainted. He sobbed into my shoulder, and then I held his head in opposition to my neck, letting him disintegrate. Neither people stated whatever for a long term. Ultimately, I whispered, "I omit her too, Dad." He nodded, his voice trembling. She turned into the whole lot to me. I looked at him, and inside the manner he appeared returned, there was something deeper, now not choice, not lust, only a raw, unfiltered connection. That night, I didn't pass again to my room. I stayed in his mattress, curled up towards him. We did not do anything, but I rested my head on his chest, and he held me like he held Mom secure, like he became afraid I would disappear too. From that nighttime on, things changed. No longer dramatically, however subtly. I started out spending extra time in his room. We might talk till 2 inside the morning, approximately the whole lot. Early life memories, how he met Mother, the time she cooked for him, and nearly burned the chicken, the nighttime he proposed to her inside the rain. He smiled through his tears as he instructed the one stories, and that I laughed even at the same time as crying. But each story he shared reminded me how deep love could be, and I commenced wondering if I might ever have something like that, or if I used to be just chasing heartbreak, looking to fill a void no man could fill. I remember one evening at the porch. The solar turned into pudding, casting a golden hue throughout his face. He looked non-violent, lovely, extra than I might ever notice before. I caught myself staring, and it scared me. I quick regarded away, pretending to alter my blanket. But deep down, I knew something in me had already shifted, and that I failed to recognize the way to prevent. It passed off on a quiet Saturday night time. The residence became silent, rain tapping against the home windows. Continually rain while something large takes place, isn't it? I'd simply gotten out of the bathe, wrapped in one of those oversized towels that barely stayed up. I did not anticipate him to be downstairs, but there he changed into sitting at the sofa analyzing something on his telephone. The TV become on low, the room darkish besides for the gentle glow of the lamp beside him. His eyes lifted the instant I walked in, and he looked at me, no longer just a look, but a glance that held. Our eyes locked, and in that silence, the entirety that had been constructing between us over those weeks hung heavy, unstated. He didn't say something. Neither did I. I walked past him, the air shifting as his gaze followed me. My heart pulsed in places I shouldn't have observed. I went to the kitchen, poured a pitcher of water, after which, as if something pulled me, I became lower back and walked towards him. Nevertheless silent, he set his phone down slowly. His eyes stayed on mine, almost like he became requesting permission without pronouncing a word. I gave a faint nod. He opened his palms slowly, uncertainly, and that I stepped into them. Before everything, it became only a hug, acquainted safe. His hand rested at the small of mine again. My cheek pressed towards his. His heartbeat became fast. Mine became faster. Then he pulled back just enough to study my face. His eyes searched mine. "You're so stunning," he whispered, barely audible, merely afraid to mention it. I have to have said something. I should have stopped it, but I did not due to the fact, whilst his lips met mine. I kissed him returned like neither of us desired to confess it. However, neither of us desired it to stop. that become the night. The night way. And if you're nonetheless listening, what came about next will stay with me for the relaxation of my lifestyles. It became a quiet Saturday night, rain powdering in opposition to the windows, the scent of something heat lingering from dinner. I came downstairs in a single of those smooth, oversized t-shirts, massive sufficient to swallow me. I hadn't planned to put on it in the front of him, but I did not flip or turn both. I informed myself it turned into harmless. He was at the couch, cell phone in hand, one half watching a film Mom cherished. The moment I walked into the room, he appeared up, and I'll never forget about the manner he stared. No longer intentional, not wrong, but however not quite proper both. I failed to say anything. I just went to the kitchen and poured a tumbler of water I didn't need. But even from the sink, I ought to feel the air had modified between us. He did not communicate. I failed to ask why. When I came returned, I didn't pass upstairs. I sat beside him. The silence among us wasn't heavy. It turned into like we each knew something become coming, however, did not want to break it. Then his hand rested on my leg lightly. No pressure, no rush, just easy comfort, perhaps familiarity. However, in that quiet moment, it became extra than that. He checked out me, his voice low. "Do you need me to forestall?" I checked out him. Simply seemed. And for the first time in my lifestyles, I failed to just see my dad. I noticed a man who had cherished and misplaced. A person I knew better than each person on the planet. I shook my head. That became the moment the road vanished without caution. We leaned into every other on the equal time. No words, no plan, just people giving into something that we're building silently for weeks. At the start, it becomes sluggish, tentative, lengthy, sufficient to pull again, short sufficient to suppose twice. However, as soon as it commenced, it became like the entirety, the grief, the loneliness, the determined need to be close to someone who absolutely knew your heart got here speeding in immediately. We did not say something. Not throughout, not proper after. We sat side through facet, heads resting in opposition to every other, breathing the equal air. That night time, I stayed there, now not out of impulse. However, as it became the only area in the world where I failed to experience broken, I recognize what you were questioning. Yes, we crossed the line, not just emotionally, but physically within the quietest, maximum difficult manner viable. It wasn't wild or reckless. It was heavy, sincere, like human beings looking to make experience of an international that did not anymore. I'm able to still listen his voice from that night. "I am sorry," he whispered. I stated it back, however, we did not allow move. It is once I knew it wasn't a mistake. No longer something we may want to pretend by no means occurred. It became a shift, a second that changed the whole lot. I awakened in his bed. For a breakup second, I forgot where I was, forgot what had befell. However, then I grew to become, and he changed into nevertheless there, eyes open, looking at the ceiling like he hadn't slept in any respect. Neither folks stated something. We lay there in silence, wrapped in the same sheets, but miles aside in our mind. I may want to feel the anxiety in the air. Not anger, now not shame, simply waiting, like we had been each maintaining our breath. Looking to procedure something that couldn't be undone. He spoke first. "You hungry?" I nodded barely. We were given dressed one by one, quietly. We met inside the kitchen, find it irresistible, turned into another morning, however nothing become the identical. He poured coffee, I toasted bread, and we moved around each other like strangers. Cautious now not to appearance too lengthy, at one factor, our palms brushed as I passed him the butter. We each appeared away. It hurt greater than I idea it might. He stirred his mug over and over, even after the sugar had dissolved. I knew he turned into trying to find phrases. So was I thought sooner or later. I said, "We do not have to talk about it now." He nodded slowly, I simply do not want to hurt you, he stated. You didn't, I murmured. Now, not like you observed, but the silence that accompanied became heavier than any argument. We went through the day cleansing, folding laundry, looking the information, pretending. But behind every small motion changed into a shared knowing while we couldn't undo, and neither of us knew what it intended yet. That night, I stayed in my personal room. However, I failed to sleep. I stared on the ceiling, wondering how something so actual, so smooth, could now sense like a typhoon I couldn't break out. I wanted to speak to him to invite what he became wondering, if he regretted it, if he still noticed me the equal manner. However, I used to be fearful of the reality. So I stayed silent, and so did he. One way or the other that hurt extra than anything, the days exceeded. We did not talk about that nighttime. No longer as soon as we slipped back into a few form of ordinary dinner, television, small talk. However, the whole thing became off like a movie in which the sound would not fit the photograph. Every now and then I capture him searching at me while he idea I wasn't paying attention. His gaze could linger a second too long, and I would appearance away, my heart racing, my belly in knots. I started out wondering the whole thing. Did he quit it? Did he remorse it? Did he hate me for now not stopping it? Did I hate myself? Some nights I would lie in bed replaying it all, each look, each word, and I might cry, no longer because it become wrong. However, due to the fact I failed to apprehend what it meant, become it grief, become it love? Or were we just lonely people looking to sense alive once more? One evening, I sooner or later found the braveness to speak. We were folding laundry inside the dwelling room, something we constantly did collectively. He became quiet, folding certainly one of my shirts once I said, "Dad." He seemed up. "What are we doing?" He stared at me for a long term, then sat down slowly. "I do not know," he stated. "I consider that nighttime each day, and I nevertheless do not know what it meant. All I realize is I do not regret being near you. I simply don't know in which we cross from here." His voice broke on that ultimate component, and I did not have an answer either because I felt the precise equal way. We sat in silence, no longer bloodless, just lost. I checked out him and whispered, "What now?" He failed to solution. The worst part became, neither did I, so here I am telling this tale to people I then never met because I didn't know who else to show to. What do I do? We failed to mean to cross that line, but we did. Now we're stuck in this difficult space among consolation and guilt, love and loss. How do I convey it up once more? Do I fake it never passed off? Is it possible that what we shared become real, even if it came from the wrong place? I need to recognize what you watched because I am not certain I'm able to consider my personal mind anymore.